What's up everyone, Chuck Bailey with the Bass Channel here, and today we're going to be comparing the Fusion S800 and the Legacy 800 amp from GK. So if you're new here, thanks for accidentally getting lost and finding this channel. And if you're not new here, thank you for coming back. I need all of the attention you can give me. If you have not yet, please like, comment, subscribe, obey. And if you have already done that and you want to go one step further, we have a Patreon. Yay, shameless plug. $5, that's all it is. $5, you spend it on way dumber stuff. I know I have in the past. I don't even know what picks cost anymore. Which of you bass players knows? $5, it's super cheap. You can afford it. Don't buy picks. Okay, you could buy picks. Here's what's funny. We, and by we I mean me, we made some mistakes. We did. I approached this like so many others, and I have done some research, okay? I've watched other people review these videos, and they all did the same stuff I did, more or less, which leads me to believe that all of us that may own these amps might have done that. Because you know why? Because we didn't read these. We didn't read them. You guys, like me, went right into that bad boy, opened it up, got distracted by all the fun bells and whistles, and you didn't read the manual. But here's what we did do. We did say, and I should say, again, we by me, I said their name wrong, first of all, which I don't know why I did that. I've known how to say it forever, since I was a little Chuck. I said it wrong. Call it jitters, call it new guy problems, I don't know. I said Gallien. Like an alien. It's not Gallien. Gallien. Like a stallion. Gallien-Krueger. Just say GK forever, and then no one will make fun of you for not knowing how to say it. What else? What else did I do wrong? I'll tell you. I misquoted the Fusion S. I said it was the only one that had a tube stage pre. Not true. The MB 500, 800, and the Fusion 550 all had tube stage pre's. The difference for the Fusion S is that it had a tube dedicated to the Overdrive channel. I think I said both of those things. I quoted it wrong. I said both things. I said it was the first of its kind that had tube stage pre and that it had a dedicated Overdrive channel. It was not the first. You guys lit up those comments. Everybody, like you worked there. Thank you. Because of all of those wonderful comments, that reached all the way to GK's headquarters. They saw your guys' comments. They saw the video. They watched it, they analyzed it, and they gave, actually, all kidding aside, they gave some very positive feedback on the video and on what we got mostly right. And I'll tell you, it's one knob that made all the difference for everything, especially the focus for what GK's feedback was on the video. And that is the trim knob. We had it set to where we thought it sounded good. To be honest, from the feedback that we got from you guys and from the feedback that we got from GK, it wasn't bad, but it could have been so much better because we never reached the fidelity, the high fidelity capabilities of the amp because we didn't have the trim knob set right. And we're also gonna make up for that, right? We're gonna do one more video. We're gonna have the trim knob set correctly with respect to each of the player's basses and settings. And believe it or not, active and passive basses have a very distinct starting point on where the trim knob would be best to be set. So again, with both of them, if you've watched the videos, the trim knob being set correctly makes a huge difference. A lot of you guys commented that it sounded sterile, that it didn't sound very fat or full or focused. Nothing that you or the company that you're working with want to hear those kind of descriptors when you're talking about their amp. Obviously, when the amps are set correctly, you guys, if you like GK, you know how they sound. But again, this is a good learning experience, right? I took some notes here. I'm gonna read them to you. I have some notes on my phone too. I'm guessing, especially with the videos that I've watched outside of that are not affiliated with the bass channel, people that have done independent reviews, reviews from other YouTube bass channels, a lot of those guys had the trim knob just like we did, where you're trying to compensate and you have it set not where it's supposed to, it's too low, and the volume is off, and you're engaging certain voicing filters that counter each other. And I'm gonna go over all that. I've spent a painstaking amount of time reading the notes from the guys at GK, and I want to share that with you guys so you don't make that mistake that I did. And have it set wrong, and then you do this whole elaborate video, you have all these players in, you have the settings set up, and they're like, it's good, but you didn't the trim knob. So that's my focus. We're gonna focus on the trim knob. So let me get my notes. You have to have that trim knob set correctly. And what was instructed to us as a baseline is start with it dimed and then start backing it off until you see it occasionally clipping. As soon as you're occasionally clipping on that, and only when you really, really dig into it, whether it's finger, pick, thump, whatever you're doing, then back it a little more off, and then you can adjust the volumes and the trim knob to taste. Before you even engage the optional voicing options on the four band EQ that both amps offer, trim knob first. Start with everything flat, have the trim knob dimed, and then back that off first. Keep everything flat, and then start adjusting. What was suggested too, like I had mentioned earlier, in that passive and active basses. Active basses, best to start the trim knob probably at about halfway, which, just call it 50%, 12 o'clock, whatever you want to call it, start active basses there and then adjust to taste. Passive basses, that's the one where you start cranked. You can have that all the way up and then adjust, because the difference of active versus passive, you're gonna be able to utilize that trim knob a lot more without trying to compensate with the master volume. And you're going to be able to really get that natural compression if you're using the Fusion S, engaging in that tubey goodness with the trim knob set right, or you're going to be able to actually get the total use out of that high fidelity capabilities of both amps with, again, the trim knob set first. So make sure and do that. Okay, so you have everything set flat. You've already adjusted your trim knob. Now, the biggest thing that, and I made a note here too, I want you guys, if you're taking notes, great. If you're not, just rewind it. Do they call it rewind? Can you rewind anymore? I don't know. Just press the arrow. The trim knob replaced the active passive switch that most other amps utilized in the past. This is actually pretty cool, and the way this was explained to me makes a lot of sense. So, you know, in the past you'd have an active passive switch, and that would do exactly that. It would adjust that level of input from the amp and your instrument, but it was only like on or off, one way or the other. With the trim knob, you get to really dial in your instrument. You have much more control over it, and it gives you a stronger signal path, which helps you, at least in the Fusion S's case, engage the tubes. Again, you don't reach the level of natural compression that you'd get from that dedicated tube, or you don't utilize that amp to its fullest potential without that trim knob set correctly. So if you already own this amp and you've been doing it that way, go back and check your settings. Guess what? Another thing that he said, which I thought was kind of weird, but I mean, you know, they made them. They invented them. They know how they're supposed to work and how they're supposed to sound. Again, this is probably a mistake a lot of people have done, right? You just set it, you know, you bring the trim knob from the left up. That's what everybody does, right? Volume starts left and goes to dime. All your treble and EQ settings, everything, you just have a tendency to start from one side and go to the other. I did the same thing. I started with the trim knob at 0, and I brought it up along with the volume to where I thought was a good sound. That's not the way. Don't make me feel like I'm alone here. How many people did this? Raise your hands. In any event, your guys' comments. This is what's actually kind of cool too. The people that run these companies, they care. They care about your opinions, they care about your feedback, and they care about the presentation of their gear, what their name's being attached to with respect to the people that are demoing it. Again, your feedback initiated this third video. We're only gonna do 2. We even put them out close because we wanted to try and fix my hastiness, call it, on setting the amp settings where we thought it sounded good. I'm excited to see how much better everything's gonna sound with the trim knob and everything else set correctly. Another thing that he brought up on the Fusion S is that we had all of the modern voicings engaged at once on multiple videos. You're not supposed to do that either. I shouldn't say you're not supposed to. I should say you should start with them off, and then depending on how you're playing, the bass that you're using, set the presence, the cut, and the contour, and the bass bump to taste. I liked all of them engaged but the treble one. I thought that sounded really good, especially on my passive Fender Jazz that I got to do a lot of my homework with. And with the MTD, the one that I'm holding now, I liked all of them engaged. I thought it sounded great. A really modern sounding bass with a really modern sounding tone. To me, I liked that. But you have a tendency to overcompensate with all of those voicings engaged if you don't have that, can I say damn? That damn trim knob set correctly. Urgh. Trim knob, guys. Pay attention to the trim. So with that said, thank you guys for watching. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Check the bell so you can get notifications for all my other mistakes that I'm absolutely going to put out again. And Patreon, again, Patreon. That was my cat. He knocked something over, sorry. Patreon, if you guys have not done that, please, $5, subscribe. You get to hear all my other rants and ramblings, get to hear all other additional content, all the all the what do they call that? Be-real, the extra footage, the behind the scenes, that's it, behind the scenes. You'll get to see all that stuff. $5, it's what is it, $5 a year, right? No, $5 a month? That's nothing, it's nothing, it's nothing. It's one set of strings for a bass. Maybe not, 2 sets? I don't know, bass strings are expensive, so I don't change mine. Or do I? Thanks guys, take it easy.